Today's Evening First Alert Weather Show is brought to you by Bresky Siding.
And good Friday evening, Mid-Michigan. Chief Meteorologist Chris Easlick back with our live update for tonight. Had a night off last night in order to update some of our computer systems here in the office. That went successful, so we didn't have a complete meltdown with our weather graphic system today, so that's always a good thing. But as we head into the weekend, of course, we're melting down in a different way because we had a headache of a storm system that's on the way. Not necessarily because it's going to be the worst storm you've ever seen, but it has done a lot of back and forth as far as the placement of snow across the lower peninsula. It has gone almost entirely south of the area with some of our data from last night. Then it's gone almost the complete opposite early this morning when Matthew was in for wake up, and now it is kind of picking a happy medium between the two. And so I'll show you kind of a description graphic that shows kind of what we're dealing with here. But I did want to start with this because we are talking about snow that could be on the way for tomorrow, and assuming that at least some parts of the area get snow, if not all of us, placement of this system is going to be key. This is kind of the breakdown of the day. So early in the morning through roughly the early parts of the evening, we do expect mostly dry roads. If there is any snow that kind of breaks out before 6 o'clock or right up to about 6 o'clock, we don't necessarily expect major issues on the front end. But we do think once we get past about 7 o'clock to midnight or so, that's when things will start to deteriorate a little bit in areas that do see that snow, and then roads gradually improve once that snow pretty much wraps up by around midnight or shortly thereafter. And then into the early parts of your Sunday, hopefully as road crews get out and plow and also treat the roads for any slippery spots where they can. But this is what we're dealing with. So this is a look at 4 of our different models here. And I'll hide the Bresky logo just for a second. We appreciate Bresky sponsoring our live stream. But this is a look at snowfall accumulation. And this is 4 different models through 7 o'clock on Sunday morning. So they pretty much take us through this entire system. And we were talking yesterday about how it was looking like perhaps a trace to an inch along some of our southern rows of counties because that seemed to be where the data was going. Well, this graphic right up in the top right was what Matthew walked into early this morning, which completely came out of nowhere. And that model was a little bit persistent with that idea this afternoon. We had another that was very similar with the amounts, but a slightly different placement of those amounts. And then you had 2 models over here that just basically said, what snow are you talking about? Especially the one in the top left. This one is the European model right here, which we typically say is one of the more accurate weather models. It tests usually a lot better with the actual results versus what was forecasted. So the Euro is usually pretty reliable, not all the time, but usually pretty good. But then this graph model that you see up in the top left, that is the one that we have here at the TV station that is run through our weather software. It does a pretty good job most of the time, but this one was one of the models yesterday that was saying, well, there's a really good chance that this could go completely south of the not only the TV5 viewing area, but pretty much south of much of the state. And so the fact that that one is holding strong with that idea, I think is at least somewhat noteworthy. But the fact that we've got this one here in the top right that is fairly persistent, that I think is also something that we just can't really feel too great about where things stand right now. So let's take a look at the quick hour by hour just to be giving ourselves a general idea of what to expect tomorrow. There might be a few sprinkles that pop up on radar tonight, but we do expect those to eventually move out if they even develop at all. And then as we head through the early morning hours of our Saturday, it actually looks like things are in pretty good shape. We may sneak in some last-minute sunshine tomorrow morning. I wouldn't say a ton of it, but there might be at least a little bit before we start clouding up for the day. And you'll likely see that, especially once we get towards the afternoon. Now this one, the timing is a little bit sooner than that 7 o'clock time frame that we talked about. But this is showing we've got some snow starting to move in towards the evening hours, which I still think is going to be the biggest time frame. And we expect if we do see snow, the most persistent time is roughly about 7 to midnight. But you'll notice that it cuts off with some of the snow really up through about Saginaw, and then it winds down pretty rapidly as we head towards midnight. There might be a little bit more. I think you see some of that lake effect that is almost coming off the thumb. I think we need to be careful with that going into Sunday morning, especially in this area right here where we've got that northeasterly flow. Sorry to move that camera. I was trying to point to this. I think that area could pick up a little more early Sunday. But that's a pretty big difference from where things were early this morning and how far south that has started to shift. And again, what we're talking about is this was completely south of the area yesterday. When Matthew came in this morning, it was closer to about the M55 corridor, roughly right about here and down towards US 10. And now it's all the way down here. And so there's just not a really good signal, even 24 hours out, as to where this is going to go. So ultimately, we decided when we were making our snowfall map earlier today, Matthew made this one this morning to kind of adjust to the latest trends. We decided to make just a big area of 1 to 3 because we do think this snowfall will throw down a general 1 to 3 wherever it goes through. But we did break up some of our southerly zones just a touch because we also think there's going to be some warmer temperatures there, while a lot of the region right here is going to be around freezing or below. Some of these areas might get up to above freezing, and there might be some middle 30s there tomorrow as opposed to temperatures that are cooler a little bit further to the north. But there's not much difference between the two. The top end range is 1 inch off of that. And so we're not talking about probably, unless you're closer to the trace side of things, you're probably not talking much difference visually. What you see with your eyes between 2 and 3 inches or 1 to 2. So I think this will be a fairly uniform snowfall eventually. We just tried to break it up a little bit more. I do think there is potential. The graphic right here, let me pull this back just for a second, is this image right here showing that uncertainty, the differences between all of our models. Is you've got this one, the HRRR model that we have. This was earlier today. The latest one, before I hopped on the stream here, I'm going to take it through Sunday morning. This is kind of the general idea that it gives us through Sunday morning. It has significantly come down, and it has also trended a little bit further to the south. And so this, I think, is a little bit more realistic than the one that was earlier today, where it had a lot more of those shades of blue, which is when you start talking about 2 or 3 inches of snowfall. So I think that's also something that might cause me to adjust a little bit later on tonight before our 11 o'clock newscast. I'll actually get the in-house model that we have in our studios, the graph model, is we actually get one more round of data for that as we start our 11 o'clock newscast, or even right in the middle of our 10 o'clock newscast. We get one more round of data with that. And so if that one kind of comes back to the idea of what we're seeing with this one right here, what I could see happening is potentially a chance for me to take that 1 to 3 and just pull it all the way down. And we could probably get rid of the trace to 2. It's a very simple map this time around, but it might just be very uniform right through the heart of the TV5 viewing area, and then the lower ends of that range could be north of our area or south of our area, and then we're just caught in that 1 to 3 right in the middle. I wouldn't be shocked if that's the solution. So again, this is just one it's really not. I think what's also frustrating about this system is it's not a lot of snow. I mean, we're talking about the placement of 1 to 3 inches. We're not talking about the difference between like a zone of 6 to 10 or 8 to 12 versus 4 to 6. This is a really annoying 1 to 3 inch type snowfall, maybe 4 if we can get a really strong band of snow going, or if we can get some of those lake effect bands on Sunday going. But this is only through Saturday night and early Sunday. But the fact that this is just one of those little annoying snowfalls that is just driving us up the wall is a little bit frustrating. But what we want you to know is that I think the main message here, rather than stressing about the amount of snow, that's for us to do, is this is the most important timeline. Is I think you're good through the first part of the day. We might have to adjust that 6 o'clock just in case things come in a little bit sooner, but from 7 through the afternoon, you're going to be fine. And from, roughly the middle of the evening through midnight, that's probably when things will be at their worst, assuming this doesn't just take a big dive to the south and completely miss the area. And then after that, we've got temperatures from Saturday night into Sunday that fall to the teens. So we do think roads will gradually improve, but I will say there could probably be some trouble areas still early Sunday as we are falling into the teens. There might be some back roads, some side streets that could still pose some problems. So that's something we'll be watching for as well. And this one is driving us so nuts that Matthew Mondro is actually going to be in studio for tomorrow morning's Wake Up. For those of you who want to see how perhaps data shifts throughout the night and tomorrow morning. And he'll be here early in the morning. Maybe he'll be doing a stream. I'm not sure what his morning is going to look like once he gets in, but I'm sure if he has time to do a stream, he will. And I'm sure he'll have the latest updates for you, even if it's not a stream, even if he has to, if tasks take him elsewhere, I'm sure he'll have an update for you online. But that's kind of where things stand. Again, I think a general 1 to 3 inch type snowfall. Be careful Saturday evening. Watch for some adjustments. I think you could see some north and south movement from that. But that's kind of where things stand for tonight. We're probably overthinking it more than you are. Just because I think a lot of you are done with snow to begin with. But again, we're not talking about something that's the difference between 12 inches of snow and 8. We're talking the difference between an inch and maybe 2 inches or 3. So we'll see what happens. So I'll take a look at some of the comments here just to catch up. Lori says she loved the sun today. I love the sun today. That was really nice. Good evening, Denise. Charlotte, are we going to get below 0 temps again? I would say that's unlikely, not impossible. But I think as we get further into the month of March, that usually gets a lot tougher to do. Good evening, Sheila. Felt like spring today, says Angel. Ethan, one of those systems that makes me want to rip out my hair. It's all over the place. You're absolutely right. Ethan, also a meteorologist in Traverse City. So if you're ever up in Traverse City, check him out on Up North Live, I believe. Or if you're like me, when I was younger and up in Traverse City, that was the 7 and 4. And appreciate that, Ethan. Lori asked, will there be wind with it? No, there's not going to be much of a wind component. I would say gusts tomorrow, probably 20 to 25, if that. It doesn't look like a strong weekend for wind. So I think whatever falls will just kind of settle on the ground and stay there. Yep, Sherry, I'll take whatever decides to come our way. It is winter after all. That's all you can hope for, of course. Let's see if that new model came in yet. It did. So let's see what happens with this. This is the new graph model that's coming in tonight. Let me make sure that the snowfall model is the new one as well. Moment of truth. So it's not quite as far south as it was earlier, but it's still kind of following through with the thoughts that we had yesterday, where it was more of a trace to an inch in those southerly zones and not much further to the north. I'll be really mad if our map yesterday was actually the map that turns out to be true. Wouldn't that be something? So that's an interesting development that came back a little bit north. It's not overly impressive, but I think it's noteworthy nonetheless. It doesn't completely miss the area, but it's also more north than it was earlier this afternoon. So very interesting. But that's where things stand for tonight. Your high temperatures tomorrow. Again, here's a look at those, and one of the reasons we cut off the southern zones just a little bit less than everybody else. There's those temperatures in the mid-30s rather than the low 30s. And then your lows tonight, after getting into high temperatures of the 50s today, we're down in the teens and 20s. So some areas are actually lowering about 25 to 30 degrees tonight. And that's from the observed highs earlier today that were about 56 in Owasso, 55 in Alma, 55 Flint, 54 in Midland. So beautiful day. And here's a look at the long term. We've got some warmer temperatures to end next week as well. We've got some 40s Wednesday and Thursday. Friday back near 50. It does come with a little bit of rain, as you would expect. We're starting to get into the spring months. Our spring season, meteorologically speaking, starts on Sunday. March 1st is meteorological spring. So we look at seasons in the weather department a little bit differently. So if you want to tell yourself it's spring on Sunday, you can. Technically wouldn't be incorrect. You'd just be talking about the climatological season rather than the astronomical season. Cody, we need warm weather. I'm tired of the cold. You and me both, Cody. I can tolerate the winter. Usually kind of let things play out. This year I'm ready at this point. I think it's because I have kids and they want to be outside. I want them to be outside. We're tired of being inside. Kathy, a little too early to say on Tuesday. But stay tuned throughout the weekend. We're keeping an eye on Tuesday. And yeah, Charlotte, we will get more beautiful days. Typically happens the further into March we go. So that is that for the stream tonight. We're going to see where things go. Like I said, Matthew's going to be in tomorrow morning for those of you who need an update in the morning. I'll have social media updates as needed throughout the day if we see some things that are worth posting about as far as any updates on timing, amounts, those types of things. But in the meantime, have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for joining the stream as always. Kind of apologies for the lack of clarity on this one. This one, like I said, is making us pull our hair out as well. Seems like, again, a 1 to 3 inch type snowfall. If we get the snow, or if it cuts really far to the south, we might just get a little bit in our southern zone. So we'll see what happens. But we'll have updates tonight, and we'll have updates through the weekend. And we will, of course, see you on the stream next week. Until next time, have a good weekend.